Does it tell you how many are watching?
Wherever you are in life, there you are. Welcome 21.6 The Net. You've got us live, the Neighborhood Pulse.
Right here in your neighborhood.
Doesn't matter, right? I mean, wherever you go in life, you always wonder what's going on in the old neighborhood. What's the pulse?
Yep,
Well, the Neighborhood Pulse is a show that Kevin called back from Realty Cornerstone, Realty Executive Cornerstones. One day I'll get that right.
You will.
I will.
Absolutely.
And myself, Kent Jones from McHenry Savings Bank, put together all about real estate.
Yep.
Everything you wanted to know about real estate, anything that goes on with real estate. And today we're moving on up.
Moving on up with Mike Dreisky.
Yes.
Or Mike from Dreisky Moving. So you've been moving for a couple of days now. You've been in business a couple of weeks, you think?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I read the book last night is what we commonly say.
Right. So how long have you been Dreisky Movers?
We've been in the business for over 40 years, 40 years plus. Started back in 70, 76, 77.
Great.
And we're now moving on to the third generation.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Are you a Dreisky?
I am, and proud to be a Dreisky.
That is it. So the colors, you always know it's Dreisky. Is that why you chose the colors?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And everybody likes to call it the pink truck. And it wasn't chosen because of the pink, but it was chosen because it was bold and it stood out. Yeah.
It works.
It works.
You know it every time.
You do, don't you?
Yeah. There used to be a yellow and black rental until the bombing in Oklahoma City. And then they don't do that.
Yep.
So that's cool. That is awesome. It's one of the things I always have found the most unique about Dreisky is I'm like, moving guys are in great shape and they're doing the stuff you don't like to do, but here's this incredible bright pink and blue, and it's just like, here we are.
Puce is technical.
Okay,
yeah, we like to. Yeah,
right.
puce. Yeah.
I don't want to. We'd let your marketing team know. Well, he kept calling it the wrong color.
That's now 40 years. So you started out here in McHenry, right?
Yep.
And have been a local mover for 40 years.
For 38 of those years, we were known as Dreisky Local Moving.
Yeah. So we're breaking that mold because you guys are like everywhere now. Like everywhere everybody I talk to, you're across state lines, you're everywhere. So how did that transition? How's that going for you? Just moving that from local.
Going incredibly well. We've had the authority for many years to do interstate moves. And yet we were just a little reluctant. We were certainly plenty busy. We always have been in the local area. And our customers were kind of saying, hey, we want you to move us to Florida. This is our last move. We want it to be with Dreisky. And so we would do those here and there. But the biggest thing was the CDLA licensing to accommodate those moves and go that distance. And so about 4 years ago, we said, my father retired. And I said, Dad, here's an opportunity. Here's an incredible opportunity. Our customers want us to go long distance. We need to gear up for that. And we made that transition. And
it's going gangbusters.
It is going gangbusters. Yes.
And everybody I talk to, they use Dreisky is always happy. They're like, that was great. Dependable on time, all the good stuff that we like to hear.
And honestly, you got to not be local because everybody wants out of Illinois.
As much as a neighborhood broadcast and we like our hometown, we like Illinois and we like McHenry, there's a lot of people that are saying, time to, and a lot of it's retirees.
Sure.
They're saying it's time going south.
That's what a lot of people are doing. So as we talk about real estate, right? I lend the money, you take the money, they buy a house. How many people do you work with, Mike, that don't budget for a move?
Almost everybody.
Yeah, right. And I say that not to be funny, but it's something that I don't even bring up with my borrowers. Like, hey, who are you working with to move you? Or it's not even a question that I think to ask or even say, have you budgeted for?
Yep. It is certainly something to budget for.
Yeah.
And the gamut of the services for moving can range from U-Haul and your buddies and pizza and some beer. and all the way up to a full service moving company of hiring professionals.
So I got a funny story. My daughter, she just moved from Arlington Heights down to Wheaton, and so I called Dryski, and I say, hey, it's an 800 square foot. It's probably just a box fan to get this one, whatever. And they're moving from here. Okay, here's our rates, reasonable. And I was like, okay. So my daughter she finished her master's. So I said, here's what I'll do. You need to move on the 29th. Dryski's not available on the 29th, but they're available on the 30th. I said, so here's what we'll do. I'll pay for it. And if it goes over that time, you pay anything over that time. In other words, saying, have everything packed up, ready to rock.
Yeah, be ready.
Right? And my daughter, she turned it down.
Oh my!
Oh no, my boyfriend and his friends and da. And Dad, can you drive the U-Haul trailer? I said, sure. I said, but I'm not moving anything.
I'm not touching it.
She's like, what? I go, well, first of all, you're going from a second floor to the 6th floor. I said, and I've already moved you 3 times.
That's more than pizza and beer.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, all right. So here's what Kent did. Kent drove it. I did not pack it up. I just drove the U-Haul trailer from Arlington Heights down to Wheaton, and then I just pulled stuff off the trailer. And they're like, "You're not going to help?" I said, "No, I offered you. I told you what I would do, and I was serious about that. I'm not helping. I'm not lifting you." My wife, of course, gave me the dirty look. I said, "I don't care. Look at me how you want. I offered to have us not out here sweating, exhausted, beat up. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and also something that people, as much as they don't plan on the budgeting side, they don't plan on the risk side. And we've had a lot of stories of where they had volunteers, and maybe when you're first starting out, a U-Haul is a great option because you're not worried about those dings and dents.
Right.
But then as you acquire nicer and newer things, that's when all of a sudden you really got to factor in the risk. And it's just not personal injury, but it's risk to your possessions or the house you're moving in or out of.
Good thought, yeah. It's something else I didn't think of. Yeah.
Yep.
We'll go find a walk through the hole in the wall is never a good idea.
It is not.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Right.
That's great. That doesn't happen with Dryski. So that is fantastic. Now you guys do everything. Like if you want people to come and pack your knickknacks, you guys will do that?
We do. One of the things that sets us apart from a lot of other moving companies is the services we do provide. What other companies would third party is known in the industry, that grandfather clock or the grand piano or the china set or, those high valuables. A lot of the other companies will third party that, meaning they'll hire somebody else to come in to handle it. Pool tables. Okay. We do all that internally. And so whether it's a partial pack, which is packing up that china, packing up dishes, to a full pack of saying, I want you to pack the whole house, even to the extent of people saying, I want you to unpack it too.
Wow.
And
Really?
I don't want to lift a thing. I don't want to do a
Right.
thing. In fact, in some cases, they'll be like, we're not even going to be there. And, just a little bit ago, we had a move going interstate, and they said, we're going to be gone. Here's a time frame that we'd like you to pick it up and pack it, and here's a time frame we'd like you to deliver it. And we might be at the destination, we may not. That comes from years of trust and referrals, because you just don't do that with your typical service. Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep. So,
I've had, so there's those things out there, air quotes for everybody that can't see us, pods,
pods,
right? Portable
Mhm.
storage, whatever it is. You offer something like that where they can pack it up themselves, or
Yeah, we do. Yep, we have all sorts of storage options, whether it's mobile storage, is the term that we've used, mobile storage units, to complete warehouse storage.
Yep.
And pods can be a great option. Just make sure that you're doing your price checking, and there'll be a lot of hidden fees that you're not aware of when you're going with some of those other mobile or units that they drop off at your house, and because you've got a pickup charge, a drop off charge. One of the things to be really aware about those services is they'll give you a time frame or a window. They'll be like, okay, we'll drop it off the week of, and we're going to pick it up. And often that does not work when you have closings and when you have deadlines that you're like, no, it has to be out of the driveway. Well, then you've got to be very well planned to make sure that that unit pod in this case is not sitting in the driveway for a week past its time to be out of there.
Dresky rescued us from a horrible incident like that.
Yep.
And my clients were so happy at the end of the day. And boy, you guys, thanks for coming out and taking care of that.
Absolutely. We don't overbook, so if we give you a date that we're going to pick it up, we're going to be there. And same thing, if it's a date it's date specific, we excel in that.
That's great. It's fantastic. That's true, though. That's true. But
So another good story. This is just my dealings with Dry-Ski, right? My neighbor just moved. You guys were there this week, as a matter of fact, over on Oriole Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got like another month or so. So you guys came in, you packed him up, and they're actually storing that for a month or whatever before or maybe two, it's hard saying, because they don't have a place down in Arkansas where they're moving to. So he's got about another month, and they're going to live in their camper for the month, out in Garden Prairie. And they were just raving about the service that they got from Dry-Ski, and it's amazing. And oh my gosh, the price is amazing, and they're going to hold it for us. And store it.
I'm pretty sure it's the same person. He was at our warehouse this morning because they finally are totally out of the house.
Yep.
And this morning he dropped off some bedding and some last minute things. He's like, add it to my stuff.
Yeah.
And, and sure enough, yep, we'll add it to his stuff. And then when he's ready for the delivery, he'll just give us a call and say, send it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. He, because that was one guy, where I was like, I don't know, if you know anybody over there, but, this is who I'd call.
Yeah.
So it's cool that they did.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Just clean. I mean, you guys come in, and again, especially with the COVID era, you guys are, masked up, gloved up, it's a neat, how you guys have that set up to protect everybody, to protect the valuables.
It is a tough balance with
Yeah.
COVID. We try to be very sensitive to our customers and their needs. And yet at the same time, recognizing that we want to keep our employees safe and for them to work at the pace that they work at, wearing masks is incredibly difficult.
It's a hard thing.
And so we do try to navigate that conversation and say, if it's okay, can we maintain social distance? And if our guys can work without the mask, it's going to save time. It's going to save money. Otherwise, especially in the heat of the summer, they need to take a air break every couple trips because breathing through those things and the humidity is very difficult. Yeah.
And that's, and my neighbors they were tickled to death, and they were fine with it because they've both been vaccinated and have had COVID. So they're like, I have to come in and just take care of work. Right. But there was a conversation that Dry-Ski had to make sure everybody is comfortable.
So comfortable.
Yeah. Which is amazing. And some don't do that. I didn't ask my daughter or her boyfriend, hey, you want to wear a mask? Moving your stuff. I was like, I shouldn't be doing this.
we just had a move where you guys were moving we had the buyers. So they sold a home and then they were buying somebody else's home and they were using your company to move them into that house, and the people that were moving out were moving you guys to move them out of that house.
Yeah.
So it's like just a weird situation. It's kind of cool.
So how often do you lose my luggage? So in other words, we hear all the bad things about airports and things like that, and the luggage. So how many times has the wrong truck gone to the wrong place?
We have never had that instance of the wrong.
It's happened, folks, but not with
Not with us, the wrong truck. There are times that we will not be able to locate an item or two, and for a period of time. But then we are able to find that. One of the numbers I can give you is kind of a specific is that the national average is into the high 20s, 28, 29% of jobs have damages. And so that's kind of the national average and the statistic that I came across here about a year ago. As a company, Dry-Ski, we're under 4%.
Wow.
And so that would include loss, damage of any sort. And so
that's amazing.
We don't bat 100, and yet we have the slogan, it's not if you screw up, it's how you fix the screw up.
Right.
And making sure that it's done. And some of the jobs that have gone sideways, those folks are some of our strongest supporters because they've heard the horror stories, and yet their story wasn't a horror story because of how we took care of it.
That's awesome.
That's it. No,
Before I get into the big question on how to choose a moving company and some do's and don'ts, You've been doing this your whole life. When you were a teenager, you're like, I hate this. I got to do this.
Oh, yes. Yes, it was. Yeah. Yep.
And did you ever see yourself now sitting in the seat that you're at?
Never. In fact,
Isn't that amazing?
we left the state in 2000. I got married, left the state in 2000. I said, I will never be back. I will not be back. And to make matters worse, as you alluded to, as a high schooler and in college, I had my door knocked on so many times by my parents. We ran the business out of our house at that point in time.
Sure.
And they'd knock on that door and say, okay, you're going to work. And it's because a guy didn't show up.
No.
And so I was the margin to say, you're going out today. And I had all sorts of plans and
Sure.
and I wasn't going to be working. And so there was some things I had to work through in terms of
Yeah.
some anger and some frustration of always being the last one to be
So,
notified.
Have you given that same experience to your children?
Quite different. We're, as a size of company, we have margin built in. And so it's very different today.
Yeah. So a good buddy of mine, actually, he's on the Dream Home Experts. His dad was a mover for the yellow and blue, and it was United or something. I don't know what it was. For years, drove the big, tractor trailer. And when he was a teenager, it was the same thing. And he was always like, I hated that, Now, he knows how to lift and move, you guys do, without blowing out hernias and things like that.
Yeah.
So anytime I'm working with him on something, use this strap or something,
Yep.
and you're just like, oh, okay. So it's in his adult life, it's kind of followed through. He's a plumber, so how to move air conditionings and things. But he said the same thing. He was like, and they move. I mean, when you guys are there, you're not there for a week. If you're thinking about doing it yourself with a U-Haul, it's it may be a month process.
Yep.
And you guys come in, you're like, all right, we got this today. We're in, we're out, we're packed up, we're rolling.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Quick and efficient.
I mean, it's really neat to watch them.
Yep.
Now, as I said earlier, it's a question I don't ask, and I should. I just need to start asking, who are you using for your moving company, and have you budgeted for that? And the answer to that could be possibly no, or 9 times out of 10 no. So as we're choosing, or as I'm working with somebody, or they're looking at choosing a moving company, how do you?
Yeah, it's a great question. The first is to make sure that they're a brick and mortar or an asset-based company. And with that, the state of Illinois, again, is really quite regulates the moving industry. And so brokerage, any sort of broker in the state of Illinois, when it comes to moving, is an illegal service. And so you want to find a company that is asset-based, meaning they own their trucks, they have an office, the phone number you call is going to be the same location this week as it will be in 3 months from now, and that they're a legit business, registered with the state and licensed and insured would be at the top of the list.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
Next is look at reviews.
Right.
Go online and
Yeah.
look at their reviews. And you're not you're looking for how people have responded to when something didn't go well, and how did the company respond? And
Right.
of course, you want to be in the
fight.
Or did
yeah,
they respond?
right. Did they respond?
Did they?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, absolutely.
That's right.
So nowadays with Google and different reviews sites, it's very easy,
And it's not, and choosing it's not a menu. I mean, it's not every move, every residence is a different bird. So you could have, let's take my house as a 1,500 square foot ranch. Let's say Kevin's is a 1,500 square foot, 2-story, or Cape Cod.
Mhm.
We'll put it that way. That could, it's not gonna be like, hey, Kent, yours is X amount, and it's the same for Kevin because it's the same square feet. Every move is different, right?
It is so unique. It is so different. And whatever customer wants is different. Some people are very, very budget focused, and they're on that. Do we go U-Haul? Do we hire professional movers? They're
Right.
trying to decide between the two.
Professional movers.
Correct.
Yeah. Call the professionals.
Trust.
That's right.
And with that, their stuff, the level of protection and care
Yeah.
they want their stuff to have is different for every mover
Sure.
or every customer. Some folks are like, get it in there, get it loaded, and get it unloaded, and a few dings and dents, I don't care.
Right.
I want to beat the estimate. I want to come under budget. Other folks, as you can imagine, are the others. Others take the extra measure precaution,
Right.
pad
All the
wrap
bubble wrap.
everything, and I don't want to ding or dent on a thing. Well, with that level of service, it requires more time and attention and more material,
Sure.
and it's going to be more expensive.
Now, and I want people to understand, you know, when they say a few dings, they're not coming and just throwing stuff in a box or a wheelbarrow and shoveling it into a truck.
I appreciate that. That is very true, because we don't do that.
Right.
There is a standard level of service that every move gets, and that's going to be pads. That's going to be taking care of your stuff for
Right.
sure. So excellent point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're protecting doors and floors and stuff, so people are walking in. It's raining outside. What does that look like?
It does, and that looks a little bit different
Or
too.
snow.
Yep.
snow,
One of the
snow,
things,
yeah.
every truck has floor protection. If you want to have floor protection on your stairs, that is going to be additional cost because that's a consumable. But we do have rug runners that are not a consumable, but they're cleaned and they're on every job and on every site. In terms of door protection, there are cases that we use door protection. There's other cases we don't. And ironically is you put a pad on a door and all of a sudden you think that that's going to protect the door. And it's really not. We train our guys, don't hit the door. Don't hit the door jamb. Don't hit the walls. Whether it has a pad on it or no pad, don't let it touch those things.
Right.
And so you want to make sure that the guys don't, in their mind, think, oh, it's padded so we can pinball this triple dresser out of the house.
Right.
So whether it's padded or not,
Pivot.
Yep. And so, again, that will be read based upon the customer's
That's it.
expectations.
That's it. I'll tell you. Moving is just so weird. It's just so exciting to me. I love to see it, and just the dynamic of it is great. There's a lot of do's and don'ts when hiring a mover. We talked a little bit about that. When somebody picks up the phone, when I talk to my clients, I always talk about how you moving, and I say, here's some reputable people. What do they, when they pick up that phone and they call you, that first conversation? What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is do your homework. The first thing is do your homework and do it early. Do it early so that when you do have that closing date, you're not starting your homework search of who you're going to hire,
Right,
but you're ready to already call them because we are booked out 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance. So do your homework.
Yep.
The first thing they should expect is somebody to answer the phone. As much as I say that, it's a legitimate thing that you should expect somebody to answer it. If it's an answering service or if it's a voice message that will get back to you, be a little concerned.
Sure.
Because you're a new customer, new client, looking to hire a mover, you would think they'd be Johnny on the spot. And if they're not Johnny on the spot at that point in time, what do you think they're going to be like when you have a damage claim? If in that event that you would happen to do that, or you have another question. So, professional, courteous person should answer the phone.
Yeah.
Identify what company they're from. And they're going to start asking you questions. Origin, destination, dates are going to be very important. And then they're going to find out the size of your home. As a company, Dreiske, our not really policy, but our rule of thumb, if it's a home that's a 3-bedroom home or larger, we're going to want to have an on-site estimate done. And so you can expect the person to say, hey, we'd like to set up an estimator to come out. You'll find that actually very few companies will offer that service because of time and restraints and different things. But for us, if it's a 3-bedroom home or larger, be prepared to have an on-site estimate come out. And that's a free estimate. There's no cost involved. That is a very, very low to no obligation or pressure. It's not a sales appointment. And you can gain a tremendous amount of value from that on-site.
Yeah, the estimate's free, but it costs $1,500 to get the guy out of your house.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. And here's this again. When I called, I didn't call. It was on a weekend night or something, and I was online, and I went in and I just filled out the online question, name, contact information, and tell us a little bit about the move. So I did. I was like, hey, it's 800 square foot, 1-bedroom flat that that really got nothing. It's a couple of kids, and right first thing on Monday morning, I got a phone call. Like, hey, and a lovely young lady over there. So
Excellent. Ask about their cancellation policy.
oh, that's good.
That's a good question.
That's a great question to ask them and say, what is your cancellation policy if we get to rolling through this and closing changes or something falls through?
Yeah.
So that's an excellent.
So rescheduling is that's because sometimes closing doesn't happen the way it's supposed to.
That's correct.
We're a day later.
Well,
so
Yep.
And or understand at what point does the clock start
That's a great question. Yes.
Right.
And we try to be very clear with
Yeah.
our customers that the clock does start when the crew leaves our warehouse in McHenry, and it ends upon their projected time of return. Yep. And that's one of those regulations in the state.
And it's not that way with everybody. I
Nope.
mean, there are smaller companies or, that may go, well, the time starts when we take the first box out of your
Yep.
house, or the time starts actually a day before.
Right.
when
But
we're
people want to know what
building.
the expectation is.
Right.
Yep.
And it was something that I didn't think of asking.
Mhm.
However, when I was talking to her, that's what she said. She goes, so here's how this works. It's X amount, and it starts when they leave here, because
Yep.
I understand I'm paying these guys. Oh, gotcha.
We work hard, and we don't get it always right, but we work hard to avoid surprises.
Yep.
And we ask the
That
customer
was
to
awesome.
avoid surprises for us too. Sometimes they'll withhold information and not tell us about the crawl space or not tell us about the 10 by 20 storage unit they also have.
You're right.
And they'll do that thinking that there you might save money or get it cheaper. And ironically, it ends up costing them a lot more because
Right.
we don't send out the proper crew size and the proper truck size.
Right.
And then you're making arrangements the day of, and then it gets to be
Yeah.
more costly.
And that's amazing. Yeah, but when she was going over that, I was like, I was just thinking you were going to give me a bid.
Right.
You know, say, hey, it's going to be $1,000. All right, great. Let's move with it.
Yeah.
But no, it's like, I understand, and it's a short move. It's a small thing, but we charge for this many hours.
Yep.
Right.
Billable
Sure.
hours, and if it goes over that, it's X
Yep.
amount per hour
Sure.
after that. And you're like, oh, I didn't ever think of that.
Yeah, it gets complicated quick.
It does.
It does.
Uh,
It's
and
crazy.
so, what are some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to moving?
Yeah, do your homework first. Ask the right questions. Those questions are you licensed? Are you insured? Are you able to do local moves?
Yeah.
Licensed with the state of Illinois. If you're in Illinois going to Wisconsin or any other state going from state to state, are you licensed to do interstate moves? If
Right.
they're not licensed to do that, the DOT and the different agencies can stop and
Hold that.
hold that truck and hold your goods. So that's something to be very aware of. Ask about their cancellation policy, as we already
Yeah.
mentioned. Ask them what kind of training do they do. Do you train your own guys? Do you have your own workforce, or do you just hire temp agents or through a temp agency? Are they trained, and are they trained internally? Is a great another question. Some of the don'ts. I alluded to it earlier. Don't withhold information thinking that you're going to get a better
Right, yeah.
deal. You don't want a 10, 12-hour day moving. We don't want to send our guys out on a 10 or 12-hour
Right.
day moving.
Right.
It can happen, but everybody wants to avoid that. Don't tell us it's not going unless you're 100% sure it's not going, because your estimate is going to be built around what we see when we do that in-home estimate and what we hear from you. And so don't tell us it's not going to go unless you are absolutely sure. Otherwise, it's not going to be a part of the estimate.
So like a lawnmower or something.
Lawnmower,
Yeah.
dining room sets is one of the biggest
Oh,
one that we're
really?
seeing people not move. Their children aren't wanting that China
Yeah.
set. They're not wanting the dining room table. So that's one that
Crazy.
we come and see.
Yeah, hutches and buffets.
Yep.
Nobody wants them.
No kidding.
Younger.
Isn't that
yeah.
weird?
A
It seems
bit-
like
It is. It is. Yep. A big one is don't overcommit. Almost every day that I do on-site estimates, I hear what the customer, we'll take that. We'll take that. We'll take the TVs. We'll take
Oh.
that. And by the time that I'm done with the survey, on-site survey estimate, I'm like, they need a 26 foot U-Haul
Right.
just to
Right.
haul the stuff that they are committing to.
that they're carrying.
That they're
traveling,
carrying.
So
Yep.
they're committing.
Here's
they're
what
saying,
I'm committing to. I'm
Yep.
going to carry my ass to the new house and take off my stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'll take
No,
the
so
car.
be very careful,
That's
because the closer you get to closing, the
Yeah.
faster that time is going to go.
Yeah.
You want to have time to say goodbye to your neighbors and friends,
Yeah.
and time is going to go very, very fast. And you're going to find yourself on moving day
Absolutely.
not prepared as well as you should be,
Yep.
and then let alone everything that you committed to doing, you didn't have a chance to do. And now you're going to be disappointed because the estimate is not going to be accurate.
Right.
Because that
We just
estimator
had
said-
this- Yeah.
Yep.
Here's the other thing that no one thinks about. And I know no one thinks about, because I just had two friends move, and guess who was the recipient of what no one thinks about?
Parents.
This guy.
Parents.
Ready?
Family.
Freezers.
Oh my gosh.
What are you doing? When you're ready to put your house on the market, stop buying stuff to freeze. You got to start
point.
eating the stuff out of there. We have a deep freeze that is too full because my wife's best friend moved to Tennessee. They're like, their kids didn't want. I'm like, Oh, that's a frozen turkey. I'll take it. What are you crazy? There was good food, steaks, everything.
Yep.
And my neighbor was the same thing. He's like, "Here, do you guys want this?" You're like, "Yeah, we'll take it."
Right.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
because nobody thinks about emptying the freezer.
Yep.
And they think about the refrigerator, of course.
Yep.
But there you go. We'll just throw it away. I'm sure. But
Right.
all of a sudden, we're getting calls from these people, and we're like, "Hey, as long as it's good, I'll take it."
I'll take it. I'll take it. That's right.
You know.
Yep.
So we've got chicken and turkey and meat for ages.
Yeah.
And soup and chili that's been, like,
Oh man.
they're like, "Well, we ain't got it. We can't take it." All right,
All right.
we'll
Right.
take it.
Yep. Excellent point.
That's it. Yep.
And
That's
because they're not gonna just padlock that, freezer and hold it for 2 days or lift it full, are you?
No, what we will do is there's times that we run into that and they're like, we forgot. What are we gonna do? Well, we need it to be emptied to get it out of the basement.
yeah.
Or to move it because the bottom is not designed to hold that much weight. So we've got to empty it. Let's put it in some boxes. We'll load up the freezer on the tail end of the truck and then put those frozen goods back into the freezer on the truck. And if the move is all in one day, you're all good. No problems. And we have been known to take that truck when it's on storage for a few days. We've been known to back that truck up to the side of our warehouse and plug in that freezer.
Wow.
So there it goes. It comes back to that customer service.
Wow, that's
It
amazing.
is amazing, right?
Yep.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
But I've been blessed. So if you're moving and you got good food in your freezer, you want to get rid of it, give me a call.
And you call, yeah,
21.6 of that.
The old spaghetti sauce my grandma made, and we'll take that.
Yeah. Now, you brought up something earlier, Mike, that, and again, just a quick shout out to everybody. Mike, if people want to get in touch with you over at Dry Ski, how do they do that?
Yeah, call us 1-800-LOC-MOVE, 815-385-9386. Those are two separate numbers,
Yep.
but one's an 800 and the other ones are both will go right to our office. So give us a call. And
Or check them out online, too.
Yep.
Right
Yeah.
at their
both
website.
Facebook and then dryskimoving.com.
Yep.
So
That
Which is
fantastic.
awesome. And Kevin, if anybody wanted to get in touch with you,
Yeah, give us a call, 708-277-3913. And I know if you contact Dryski, they got a lot of resources they can provide you.
Yep.
But when you're getting ready to buy that home, make sure you have a pre-qualification letter and get that from Kent Jones.
that's right.
From?
Right here at McHenry Savings Bank, you can reach me at K Jones. That's K Jones at McHenrySavings.com or 815-331-6431.
Beautiful.
Which is
Love it.
great. We should have said that minutes ago. when
Yeah.
people were listening. Now, you had mentioned something earlier about training and make sure that they train their own guys. So do you have like a mock house in a warehouse that you train on, or what?
what we do have is a plethora of furniture and different household items that we've gathered over the years, and we use those. And what we'll do is we will set up our warehouse. A couple months ago, we did this, and we had a whole apartment set up in our warehouse, and then we had a whole living room set up in our warehouse, and we divided up our team and divided them up, and we went through what is it, from the whole start through, from the packing to the walking through the warehouse door, meeting a customer,
Right.
and
Wow.
how to handle the furniture and pad wrap the furniture. And so we do that internally. And we take a couple days a year to just set those days aside just for internal training.
Yeah.
And then our new employees go through training as well. And they all start out as a box boy and carrying boxes. But even
That's right.
even as much as you think, well, that's no big deal. It is a big deal, because that China box should never be on the bottom of that dolly. It needs to be in a safe spot. And so
Yeah.
That's it.
So when it comes to that, so let's say that we worked out a deal and we're like, we'll pack everything up. Is there different liability if I put the box together or if you guys do, or?
absolutely there is. If that box is put together, we call it a PBO, packed by owner as a PBO. And so if it's packed by you, the condition that we receive that box at the house, if that's the condition it's delivered to, you are responsible for the contents. If that box has signs or symptoms of distress or being dropped, then the moving company becomes liable for the contents of that box. Now, the one caveat to that is they're going to open that box. And if that box has zero paper and is wholly inadequately packed, that's going to come back on you because there is a level of protection that is assumed when you pack it by
So
yourself.
if it's a PBO, y'all are still kind of putting your eyes on it. Saying,
We absolutely are.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good.
Yep.
Because all I ever see is like you see it on like Lucille Ball or whatever. You pick up the box and everything just
It drops off the
falls
bottom.
out.
Yep.
Right out the bottom. I'm like, that'd probably be the way that I would box something. Like, I don't put it there.
And now if it's a CP or a carrier pack,
Yeah.
then the contents become our
All
responsibility.
right.
And one caveat with that, if it's a move within the state of Illinois, it's a little bit of a misnomer to think that if the moving company breaks it, they're going to fix it. There's different levels of liability that you can choose in the state. And we didn't set these. No moving company set these. These are what every moving company abides by. What comes with your move and is just included is the minimum level. And as soon as I explain it to you, you're going to be like, well, that is minimal. It's 30 cents per pound per item. And so if something does get broken, that item is weighed. The weight of that item times 30 cents per pound is the moving company's legal liability back to the owner.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes. Yep.
Huh.
Now you can choose to have higher levels. Those higher levels come at a little bit more of a cost. And yet I'm also really glad to say that repeat customers of ours just take the 30 cents per pound. Customers that have had a bad experience, they feel more comfortable with taking and paying for a little bit higher level of liability.
Yeah, you have a bad experience. You don't forget that right quick.
No, you don't.
That's for sure. Now, when we're packing the boxes, we should put, like, I knew a woman who would pack a box, this tall and this big, which is really big for radio people.
Yeah.
It's full of books. And I couldn't lift it. I'm like, who's moving that box? It's really me.
It's important to match the size of box to
Right.
the weight of the item. You use small boxes for your books, use small
Right.
boxes for your heavy items, use your medium and large boxes for your lighter goods. Yeah.
Stuffed animals.
That was
Yes.
really it, right? So is there like a weight limit, like, or some way to gauge it? Like you said, small box, for books, things like that.
Yeah.
Is there like a
As soon as you start to get to 50 or 60 pound boxes, it's going to take longer to
it's a
move.
big box?
It is a big box. It's
Yeah.
going to be dense, but
Mhm.
it's going to take more time to move those boxes because the crew's going to wear out quicker. And so you want to be that 30 pounds a box, and
Okay.
even in your smaller book boxes, those are going to come in to be about 15.
Yeah.
Yep.
Their books are heavy.
Yep,
Books
they
are
can
heavy.
be.
All right, so now we got dry ski out there. They're moving. It's moving day. Should I make breakfast for the crew? Have
Absolutely.
coffee?
Yes.
Do I offer them beer?
Yeah, no alcohol.
You know what
no
I mean?
alcohol. Yep.
What is acceptable? What is not acceptable? Do I? And here's another one that's huge. I've heard several different stories. You can answer or you don't have to. Is how much do I tip the guys? Do I tip the guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
You got a lot of questions.
I
there.
did. I threw
When
a
the
bunch
movement-
at you.
When they show up, they're going to be pretty eager to get going.
Yeah.
They're there ready to roll. And so if you offer them a donuts or a coffee in the morning, they may not take you up on it right then. And that's not an insult.
Yeah.
They want to get cracking. They want to get
They're
going.
working.
They're
Yeah.
working. They're working. And biggest suggestion is if you had a refrigerator filled with bottled water, that is a huge thank you to the crew.
Oh wow.
Is just having access to water. They'll bring water, but through the course of the day,
Ice
that water
cold
can
water.
get warm
Yeah.
and that. So water, some Gatorade. I highly recommend the water, and you'll be surprised at how much water they'll go through. 6-7 bottles per guy is not necessarily an exorbitant amount. Yep. And so having that available. Lunch. Asking the crew, would you guys like to have lunch? I'd be willing to buy that for you if you'd like to do that. That's if they're working hard and they're.
The key word is buy it for you.
Right.
Nobody wants grandma's casserole,
No.
right? Right? I mean,
Yep.
people have food allergies,
Sure.
or
Absolutely.
or they may not like.
Yep. A lot-
Is that cat here?
Yeah, a lot of our guys, they are health conscious, and the first
right?
thing that comes to everybody's mind on move day is pizza.
Right.
Remember, they're doing this
Gosh.
every single day. They're pizza out, and so Jimmy John's or Subway or some cold cut sandwiches are always a big hit. And having those available is it will save time too. Some crews they'll just want to work through it because if they're projected to be done at 1 or 2 o'clock, they may not even stop for lunch,
Yeah.
and just keep rolling.
Say we'll grab.
That's it.
We'll eat when we're done.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep.
And because everybody wants to be polite, right? But
Sure.
it always comes into that. Oh yeah, I got some Danishes and some coffee, boys. You know,
Yeah.
or ladies, whatever.
That's it. You're
Yep.
right. Exactly. Whoever.
Yep.
The so I do want to go back to tipping.
Yes.
Tipping.
Oh, yeah.
Is that?
I was hoping to
something-
avoid that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just disregard that question.
That's why I said you don't
No,
have to.
We'll
no,
move
let's
on to-
go there.
You want to go there?
Let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's go there then.
Yeah.
What, do we tip? You know, at the end of the day, I mean, these guys have worked their to death.
Yep.
And they're just sweating and they're ready to go home for the
Even
day.
in the winter, they're dying.
In the
man. It's a
winter,
lot of
they're
work.
done. It's
It is a lot of
cold,
work.
it's slippery.
Yes.
It's gosh.
Yep. It is a service industry, and some folks aren't even aware that tipping is appropriate. And so it certainly is appropriate, and our guys work hard for that. We've got several guys that they'll come in at the end of the day, and I ask, hey, did you guys get a tip today? And they're like, Mike, we don't expect it. I don't ever want to get to the place that we just expect it.
Right.
And so I appreciate their intent. But it also communicates, no matter what size it is, it communicates an appreciation.
Sure.
You know, and so I would say anything less than $10 a guy on a half to a 3/4 or more day, anything less than $10 a guy is going to be an insult. So because of how much they've worked,
Sure.
you know, and so the rule of thumb on a local move is, okay, take 10% of the bill and divide that amongst the crew. That's not per person, but
Right.
divide that amongst the bill. You know, and so if you've got a $2,000 move, 10% is going to be $200.
Yeah.
And if you've got 3 guys, that's a good starting place. Now, I tell folks, don't tip if they don't deserve it.
Sure.
Don't feel like these guys are going to manhandle you or manipulate the situation or hold you hostage. Our guys won't. Now in the
Sure.
moving industry, that can be a legitimate
Mhm.
fear. Like, I better tip them even though they didn't do a good service.
Right, but-
No, if they did a good service.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
Absolutely.
again, that's why I want to bring this up because that's what the show's all about. And if you're budgeting something, understand,
That it's a service
plan
industry.
to budget. You
Yep.
know, 10% is a tip,
Yep.
and thank them.
Yep.
I mean,
Sure.
they've got families, and they.
Yep.
Yes, they are getting paid.
Yep.
But if they did a fantastic job, they didn't touch a wall, a door, your house is clean, and you didn't hear them say, whoops,
Yep.
you know, they deserve a tip, right?
And many folks don't realize too that these guys, they have no consistent schedule.
Yeah, they really do.
Every day they start the same time. They have no clue when they're going to end. It might be 10 in the morning. It might be 10 at night.
Right.
And we have those. And so
Great.
it is far from a 9 to 5. And they sign up for that type of variety, but also that flexibility.
Yeah.
And they're there to do the job and do it well, no matter how long it takes. You know?
And I'll tell you what, you do it when they're done loading up your truck. Guess how nice they're going to unload that baby, right? It's like, hey, here you go, guys. I may not be there when this is all undone because I got to work or whatever, but here's a little something for you guys. Appreciate all your hard work and effort. And build, the other thing that I would say, along with a tip, and just do this, is take a selfie with the crew. Throw it out on social media for these guys.
Absolutely.
What a great way to really promote the awesome job that Dry Ski has done. In front of the truck or exciting day.
And our guys, we have some internal incentives for our guys. If that customer
really?
and if that customer calls in, meaning unsolicited, the crew can't say, "Hey, call in and tell us how good of a job." No, but if it's an unsolicited call in by the customer, we have an internal bonus structure that the guys get an incentive for that. And and so if that customer calls in or posts it online, the guys get a
Oh, that's awesome. That's
little bit of
how cool is
a bonus.
that? Yeah, unlike some of those places like, listen, would you take this survey? We need all 5. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm in trouble.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Amazing. Peter Galt, how are you? Peter says, not your crew, but yeah, we tipped movers that helped us $50 each person, only to discover later that they broke 3 pieces of our furniture. When contacting the moving company, their response was essentially, so sad, too bad, not our problem. I imagine Dry Ski is a much better company who we'll call next time.
Amen. You gotta love it.
Yep.
Who was that, Pete? You want, no.
That's right. That's right.
What do we say?
That's right.
And it is. And listen, and I would tell people this. everybody's entitled to a bad day. Movers are going to have a bad day. We don't know what they've been through. I mean, you don't know if their dog got hit, but they're there and they're moving you. And if somebody's having a bad day, they're just having a bad day. As long as they're not wrecking everything, but they may not want to sit there and chat with you. They're there to work.
They are.
Right.
You know?
And they work hard.
And it works best for them if the quicker and more efficient that they can do this. So hold the door open, get out the way, let them
Right.
work.
Be ready.
Don't hover. Yeah.
Be ready.
Don't hover.
Don't
Get out of the way.
Right? Oh, that's a big don't.
Let them do that. They know what they're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hovering will slow the crew down,
Absolutely.
and it makes them nervous.
Right.
And if they damage something, it's going to be there.
Right.
And you have, I don't know exactly, but you have 30 plus days. I mean, you have time after the move to file a claim. And so you certainly, you have time.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Bad day is a bad day, but 3 pieces broken and not a word said. No, that's true. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's just
And he's got a valid point.
Yeah.
He's got an absolutely valid point with that. And it angers me that he got that response. Too
Yeah.
bad, so sad.
Yeah.
That's just a totally unprofessional response.
Yeah.
And unacceptable.
and unacceptable.
Yep.
It really is.
That's great.
Now, what's next? I mean, you guys, Dry Ski has moved from local to now interstate,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They'll go wherever. They'll pull you into the mountains of Colorado or the sea of
Montana,
Right,
yeah, all
whatever.
over. Yeah.
and now you do a little bit of storage with
Mhm.
some of the containers. I
Yep.
don't want to call them pods, but you've got the containers as
Yep.
well. What's next?
Oh,
Good question.
boy, good question. We did expand down to Indianapolis about
Yeah, you
3
just-
years
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
And so
Yeah,
we have launched another location down in Indy.
Yeah.
That's going very well, and so we're looking at our local market and expanding locally, and continuing to
So
expand.
That's
And
going
grow.
well down there.
It is.
In
Yes, it
Indianapolis.
is.
That's fantastic.
It's when you got a company that has that kind of quality and that
Yeah.
kind of reputation, you can do nothing but grow, right? So you got this growth model that just keeps getting blessed.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
time you're helping people, right?
We're hiring.
Fantastic.
I got to put that plug out there.
Welcome to
hiring.
America.
We
Yeah,
we
we're
need
hiring.
we need quality guys.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
gals.
And gals. We do.
Yeah,
When
We
we
do.
say guys,
Absolutely.
we're saying people.
Yep,
Same
we've got
people.
gals on our team. Yeah, absolutely.
They run circles around the good.
Some of them you want them on your team. Yeah,
That's it.
you do.
That's it.
That's it.
Now you have how many trucks altogether?
Yeah, we're probably pushing over 35 or 40 power units. And that's going to be trucks of various sizes, whether that's semi 53
Right.
footers to smaller little cargo cube vans.
Yeah. So, and that's why they say you're not going to call them today and be like, "Hey, I got to move tomorrow."
No.
Yeah,
Yep.
they're like they said, 3-4 weeks out,
Yep.
perhaps. They're busy, and
Well, call us. We'll try to fit you
Right.
in, but be ready for a sorry,
yeah,
really sorry.
plan it.
Plan
Don't be
Yeah.
like, "Whoops."
How does that interstate work? So they're going to the mountains of Colorado or Montana or wherever. Same crew from start to finish, or do you subcontract that out down someplace
Yeah,
else?
very rarely is it the same crew. We've only had a few jobs in the history of Dry Ski where they wanted to cover the costs of that crew going to the destination. But
Sure.
there's times, and certainly we can provide that and fly the crew out there or drive them.
Right.
But you can just imagine the dollar amount that's attached to that.
Sure.
But if that's a level of service and they want the same faces, no problem. So what we are a part of is a network of professional movers. And so in terms of subcontracting, it's going to be our driver, it's going to be our foreman that is going to be at the destination. And he is responsible for the crew at that destination point. And now that we've been doing interstates for the 4 years, we've got some awesome crews lined up in the places that we go all the time, like Florida. We've got through this network of professional movers, guys that we call on every single time. And they've been saying, Dry Ski, when are you going to start an office down here?
That's
We
right.
want to work for you full time.
There
And,
you
you
go.
know, and so we've got that relationship. And
That's
so
awesome.
they're
Sure.
professionals. They're in uniform. They're going to take care of you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's the way to go. That's great. And of course, we are talking about moving on up. Of course, this real estate show, the Neighborhood Pulse, is that's what we do, right? It's
That's right. That's
talk,
what we do.
and we don't just talk about the boring stuff that we do. We
Right.
bring in the boring stuff that Mike does.
That's
Uh,
Rarely is it boring.
No,
It's-
yeah, and I imagine your crews could really write a few interesting books or short stories for the Reader's Digest on some of the interesting things that they've had to move.
Yeah, oh, yes.
What is the most interesting thing that you've had to move over these years?
Alive or dead?
Oh, wow. Dead. Let's go dead.
Dead? Stuffed giraffe.
A real
Real stuffed, giraffe.
And like that was 60 feet tall or whatever.
And not quite that, but it was about a 20-foot tall stuffed giraffe.
Wow.
Yeah. We
you can tell I don't know much about wildlife. I'm like 16 feet tall.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yep.
That's crazy. How do you come up?
Obviously, didn't have it sticking out the sunroof. You had to figure
No,
that
it
out.
was laying it down, and
Yeah.
a taxidermy had to come out because it did have to be
supported
and taken apart, and
Wow.
Wow.
and so that was
That's crazy.
at
Take
first you're
apart.
like, how is this going to work? And we really try to be a solution
Yeah.
to whatever problems they bring our way.
Right.
And rarely will you ever say a no or hear a no.
Sure.
You might hear a wow
Right.
or that's a new one, but
Right.
we're going to be on the solution side
Right.
and be like, okay, how do we?
That's it.
How do
Absolutely.
we?
Right.
Solutions
How
are
do we make it
that's what-
happen?
Yeah, in life,
Yeah.
that's what you got to be as a solution finder, right?
That's right.
No matter what you do.
Yep.
And,
Pete says alive or dead. Mike's got stories.
Yes.
Some he's been sworn to silence on. I'm just sitting here thinking of the house that can fit a stuffed giraffe.
Stuffed
in,
giraffe.
Right? I mean, what's that? It might be in your foyer. there,
Yeah,
Right.
it was.
Right?
Yep.
Yep.
Actually, cathedral living room.
Yeah.
It had all sorts of taxidermy.
Oh, my.
There was 70, 80 pieces of taxidermy.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
And that's got to be interesting to move in itself too, right?
It is.
I mean, that's a
Yes.
whole different skill set.
Surprisingly, they're not heavy.
Yeah.
They're not heavy, but they're just bulky, very cumbersome, and depending upon the
Fragile,
age,
right?
they can be very fragile.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
See, there's all these things. I don't have the taxidermy, so you don't think of those things.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yep.
man,
That is-
and really you don't think of them either because you brought you hunted it, Kevin. You had it mounted, and all you did was hung it up on your
On your
wall. And it's
Yeah.
just been sitting there for 30 years on your wall, and
Great.
you've cleaned it, but that's it, And now you got to move it, and well, it might not be quite the same shape as it was 30 years ago.
Right,
That's for sure.
right.
That is amazing. To
Clean
me.
it, dust it, right? It's good stuff. That's pretty exciting. It's it. So if they want to learn more, if they want to get a hold of you, how do they do that again?
Yep. Call us 1-800-LOC-MOVE, 1-800-LOC-MOVE, or the phone number 815-385-9386, and of course always online, DryskyMoving.com.
And Facebook.
And Facebook.
Yep.
Yes.
Social media.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Do you guys do any consulting? So if you're like, you come out with that free bid,
Mhm.
and you're like, well, you got to do this, 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 and this, and this, and then
Absolutely. Yes.
and then I go, I'll just do it myself, or
Yep. As a business owner, and I tell this to people, and a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's a sales ploy or a sales pitch," but it's really not. I really mean it. And my hope and my goal is that you get a good, successful move within the means that your budget and what you want to have, more than you choose Drysky. And so there's been times that we just haven't been able to match other prices, or they're going to somewhere that we're not going, and it's a small move, and we might have to refer them, or there's another company, and they'll be like, "I got these 4 estimates. Would you be the one to look at them?" And I'll look at them, and I'll be like, "Throw this one out.
Right.
This is not a brick and mortar. This is a broker. As soon as you sign the deal, they're going to ask for a deposit, and you have no idea who's showing up. That I wouldn't even take that into consideration, and be able to help them through
Yeah,
that.
that's
And
cool.
and so they very much want them to have a good, successful move.
Yeah, and again, you are also part of that community, or of movers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you can't get it done because of the type of business you run, you'll say, "Listen, we can't get you in, or we can't do it, or we can't meet it, but here's a good person that
Yeah.
can."
Yeah,
Right.
my pad of paper that I took some notes on is one of our affiliates, and it's for smaller moves.
Yeah.
It's mini moves, and there's a little plug for
There you
them.
go.
So those students that are going off to college that have just a small trailer, or what we've seen a lot too lately is the heirlooms. Somebody passes away, and the estate is divided out,
Yeah.
and there's kids all over the place, but there's just these small things that they want to have that special care and not go UPS or FedEx. Might be more than what they can handle, but then we can help them navigate that, and then certainly get the
That's
stuff
awesome.
to where they need to go.
That's awesome. Now I just had it and I lost it, so it must not have been that important. We were talking about mini moves. doing
Many moves,
that way.
absolutely.
I have no idea.
There's that. That's it. That's
It's
it.
riveting radio.
That's
I have
right. That's
no
right.
idea what I.
Blank character.
At this point, I think I
That's
might be one
crazy.
of the things you're moving.
That's right. Roll you in your chair.
Which
Get
is-
you going.
oh, I know what it was now. What about office? Do you do just homes, or you guys move offices?
We do
or
commercial and industrial, so both. Yes,
Yeah.
we're not in a huge commercial area with a
No.
lot of offices. Our Indy location does a lot of commercial.
what? I imagine.
They're just right in the thick of it there, but we certainly do.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. And
Office
then-
relocations.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's something. I tell you, I moved offices just across the hall. I was like, oh my god, you got desks and it's just a mess. I
Right.
wish I would have known that because I would have called you guys for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and we've got some things and some tools of the trade that help that go very easy and very
Right.
efficiently. Whether they're computer carts, we just load them all up and push them, or heavy duty filing totes, to
Right.
move those filing cabinets and different things like that.
Yeah,
And so,
that's
yeah,
It
we
is-
like commercials.
That
You-
is the absolute key. They have the right tools.
Yes,
right.
the right tools and right training.
Period.
Right. That's a right training. That's it.
I mean-
tools and training.
Because here's how most people do it if they're moving themselves. They're taking too long to pack things up because look at here Jimmy's shoes. Remember that? Would you just put in the box? Let's wrap it up. Let's get the
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that if it's a PBO,
Yep, that's right.
right,
There you
Packed
go.
by owner.
is it's going to take you a while longer than
Sure.
if you got somebody who says, listen, I'm going to treat this stuff like it's mine, but I've got no emotional attachment to it.
Right.
We can move.
Yes.
Right.
We can
Yep.
get this baby done.
Yep.
Right.
That's it.
So if it's a carrier packed,
Mhm.
right, you might come in one day, pack everything up, and then come back the next and load, or is
Yes.
it all done in one
The
day?
vast majority are done the day before,
Okay.
unless it's a small apartment that we can
Yeah.
accommodate it all in one day. But any sort of pack or any sizable pack, it's done the day before. Pack and prep is done the day before, and then you got the load day.
And we talked about this in the green room. We want to make sure we get it. You guys give away free boxes.
Great question. Great
I
question.
want to make sure we hit that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We do not have free boxes. In fact, another regulation of the state is we're not allowed to give out free boxes unless it's written into our tariff, and that's a
Yeah.
whole nother complicated thing.
Sure.
But if you do need boxes, give us a call. We do have used boxes all the time, and we do have a sticker price of 50 cents a box on those.
Yeah.
But it's not
That's
uncommon
cheap.
for it to
So
But
say,
you
hey,
cannot offer free boxes.
free boxes,
Got
right?
it.
And there's companies that do. Okay,
Mhm.
they do that, and just know that they're building the cost of those boxes in somewhere.
Something.
Right.
It's going to be built in. It's going to be built into the cost of your move somehow, somewhere.
Yeah.
And
Talking
so,
about giving things away.
Yeah.
A carrying company like yours, I'm sure you're involved with some local charities,
Mm.
or and you give back to the community.
yeah,
How's that? What does that look like?
yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. There's two organizations that we're part of locally. One is TLS, Transitional Living Services, and we were just talking before the
Yeah.
show that they actually recently changed their name
They did.
to
Veterans Path to Hope.
Veterans
Yeah,
Path to Hope. And what they're looking for is items that would go into an apartment. And they work specifically with veterans and helping vets get back on their
Yeah.
feet. And so those items that you're not wanting to move, you can certainly donate them to TLS,
Nice. That's fantastic.
Veterans Pathway to Hope.
Yep.
And we can help accommodate that. What's really nice about that is the day of the move, as long as they're clearly identified, so that they'll disappear on the day of the move. And so you don't have people coming and going or having to logistically figure out that.
Right.
Our crew will take care of that and handle it for you.
Fantastic.
And we're also a part of Move for Hunger. And Move for Hunger is serving the area. There's a national-wide, but all of the food collected goes to local food banks.
Nice.
And so if you've got food, non-perishable items that you're saying, yep, don't want to move it, or we're going to clear out this closet, we work with them
you
as well.
take the non-perishables. Me and Kent get the freezer.
There you go.
stuff. Is
You,
that-
you get the perishables.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll hook you up.
As long as it's good.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, that rolls us right
It
into the
does.
last minute. This hour flew by. Absolutely fantastic. Of course, moving on up, part of real estate is
Kevin
moving
Callback.
from one place to another. right?
with Kent Jones.
That's right. And
And
Mike, if they want to get a hold of Dry Ski, how they do it one last time.
Dryski Moving and Storage. Look us up online, dryskimoving.com, 1-800-LOC-MOVE.
LOC Move.
beautiful.
Kevin,
Call Kevin K at gmail.com, Realty Executives Cornerstone. Kent,
just the way that sounds. You actually call Kevin K.
right?
Yeah, get in touch with me. Shoot me an email. I'd love to chat with you on any mortgage questions you have. 815-331-6431. Where was I at? Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
yeah,
I really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
calling. You're
Yeah,
awesome
appreciate it.
having you. We learned a lot today. It was
Come
great.
back at 3:30 today for the very first episode of In the Know with Steph and Joe.
And roll.